My friends, pay attention to what's happening. Today is June 30th, 2026, and I will prove to you with technical data and undeniable images the exact reason why the Ayatollahs of Iran will not reach a peace agreement. They can't. They're bluffing with a completely empty hand. And the United States and Israel have just put their cards on the table in a way that the Middle East understands perfectly. Through sheer raw and undeniable force. The United States Central Command CENTCOM has just released images that change the geopolitical landscape. What we're seeing stationed off the coast of the Persian Gulf, operating in the Strait of Hormuz, is not a fleet with a light touch. It's the 31 SID Marine Expeditionary Unit, the famous Marine Expeditionary Unit. And just so you know, this is the largest, most lethal, and most feared Marine unit in the region. Armed to the teeth and ready for immediate action. The metaphor here is simple, my friends, but brutal. You know all those incredibly dangerous guys that international diplomacy told Iran not to worry about? Well, they just got combined into a single unit and parked right at Tehran's doorstep. And they're definitely not there to play around. Let's go back a bit, because while the smoke was still clearing, under the consequences of the attacks carried out in the last 72 hours, in which the United States hit 10 Iranian military targets, wiping off the map 2 bases that had just been built. During the ceasefire, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps was already on state radio. They promised retaliation as usual, saying that if the violation is repeated, our response will be more comprehensive than this one. It's the old arrogance of those who hide Shari 136 kamikaze drones up their sleeves while smiling at diplomatic negotiation tables. They hold a grudge, but they're holding cheap technology against the American grinder. Iran wants the world to believe that the Strait of Hormuz is open again. However, on their terms, the Marine Expeditionary Unit is about to sit Iran down and explain the fine print of this contract. But before we look at the target, we need to understand the hammer. The real story isn't the attack itself, but what was left floating off the coast when the smoke cleared. The 30th Expeditionary Unit is operating from the USS Tripoli, the amphibious assault ship. Think of it as a mini aircraft carrier, but with an internal dry dock. That means it can launch next-generation fighter jets and deploy armored vehicles onto the beach on the same afternoon. Their aviation is the pinnacle of human lethality. We're talking about the F-35B Lightning II. The B means that this 5th-generation stealth fighter can take off from a short runway, carry out deep bombing missions, and return to land vertically on the deck, hovering in the air. These stealth fighters integrate seamlessly with the F-15E Strike Eagle, which carries the heavy bombs, and the F-16S, the Wild Weasels, which come in kicking down doors and destroying Iranian radars. The enemy doesn't see the F-35 coming, they only see the flash of the explosion. But aviation is just the tip of the iceberg. The true soul of the 31st Expeditionary Unit is what I call the entrepreneurs of war. There are 2,200 Marines and sailors divided into 4 parts working as one. A reinforced infantry battalion, an aviation squadron that operates everything. From the incredible V-22 Ospreys, which defy aeronautical logic by flying like airplanes and landing like helicopters, to F-35 fighters, heavy transport helicopters, and even Zulu attack helicopters. A logistics battalion that can sustain the war for 2 weeks with zero external supply, and a command element that ties everything together. They don't ask the host country for permission. They don't ask the mall security guard for authorization. They arrive and tell you what's going to happen. But if you think modern war starts with thousands of soldiers screaming on the beach, you're stuck in movies from the past. The reality is scarier and much quieter. Let's zoom in on the unit nobody wants you to see. It's like a Russian matryoshka doll of war. You open up the Expeditionary Unit, and inside is the force they told you not to worry about. You open that up and you find the hardcore. That core is the Marine Reconnaissance Force. The famous Force Recon, focused on maritime incursion strength. These are the guys who go in first. Days or even weeks before any large-scale operation, they sail, swim, or rappel down in the darkness. They map out the amphibious landing zones, count exactly how many defenses there are, and report everything back before any conventional unit even gets their feet wet. Before I share the full map, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and like the video. Making these takes a lot of work. Force Recon's bread and butter is amphibious invasion. The takeover of gas and oil platforms and VBSF operations, visit, board, search, and seizure. The name sounds gentle, just a little visit, but in practice, its operators armed to the teeth with state-of-the-art night vision goggles, taking no prisoners. They use stealth microdrones to transmit real-time videos to the fleet. And when CENTCOM destroyed 2 Iranian bases that had just been built before the concrete even dried, it wasn't luck. That was intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance generated by these war entrepreneurs using billion-dollar optics. And then you ask me, what's the final target? If the green light comes from the White House, where is American wrath directed? The name of that primary target is Karg Island. It's about 25 kilometers off the coast of Iran. President Trump even bet that Karg Island could be in play to be seized. Occupying an island so close to the Iranian coast seems like a logistical nightmare, with the troops serving as easy targets. But Karg is not just a piece of land in the sea. It's Iran's financial vault. Approximately 90% of Iranian oil exports flow through that piece of rock. The regime bleeds without money, and Karg is their lifeline. If we look at CENTCOM intelligence images, Karg is infested with equipment designed to keep the Americans away. They have Mesba 1 anti-aircraft gun batteries, ready to tear apart helicopters or hovercrafts that try to land Marines. They have radars and military communication towers perfectly integrated and disguised among the civilian facilities. At the docks, you see the fast attack craft, the boats that the Revolutionary Guard uses to harass and seize merchant ships. These facilities would be easily pulverized by the F-35B and Hulu helicopters of the Expeditionary unit. But Karg is not the only prize. If we go to the mainland, the focus shifts to Bandar Abbas, Iran's main naval port. When I look at what the Expeditionary unit can do, Bandar Abbas is the military cauldron. The images show entire bases of hovercraft, specially designed to quickly deploy Iranian naval special operators into the Strait of Hormuz. We see underground shelters and huge Terra missile complexes built to shoot down American planes from long distances. For a fighter pilot in the cockpit of an F-15 or F-35, these SAM missile batteries, although dangerous, light up on sensors as a juicy target in the middle of nowhere. And that's Tehran's problem, a hostile coastline bristling with mobile radars, mine-launching platforms, and drone hangars off the coast. Heavily armored and buried, located right within the waterway where 20% of all the planet's energy passes through. This is where the Iranian death cycle comes in. They spend millions hiding infrastructure, and the United States spends billions mapping every oil well and dock. Where Admiral Tangsiri hides a boat, the American ISR already has the coordinates locked in. And here comes the diplomatic farce. Iran demands that the world solve the crisis through diplomacy while keeping a knife to the throat of global trade. Iranian politics is divided. On one side, diplomats in well-tailored suits trying to negotiate ceasefires in Doha. Iran's own deputy secretary went public to say that the Doha meeting was not confirmed, acting like schizophrenics deciding things on a coin toss. But it's a coin toss with missiles strapped to the coin. Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi has already made an explicit threat about the waterway. Look at his quote so you can understand the seriousness. He said the following: "Any attempt to adopt new or separate arrangements will lead to more complicated situations and delays in reopening the Strait of Hormuz and will increase tensions." The Pentagon's nonverbal response to this was to station an elite expeditionary force capable of turning their navy into scrap. And to make matters worse for Iran, reports indicate that the Revolutionary Guard's naval commander Tangsiri, General Atom, who orchestrated the blockade, was allegedly removed from the board in previous attacks. Iran is playing chess, but their main piece is gone. They brought bluffs to a game where the Marines brought machine guns. Because if you think war is just about missiles, pay attention to the real reason behind all this: the $6 billion in frozen assets. Iran doesn't want a full-scale war because it knows it can't win, but the regime desperately needs those $6 billion to inject oxygen into its failed state machinery. Every day that this money, about 30 billion riyals, remains tied up in disputes over the deal, Iran's economy suffers a fatal hemorrhage. They attack the ships not out of strength but out of weakness. Is this global-level extortion? Washington found the perfect asymmetric response, placing the 31st Expeditionary Unit on the Oman side in the safe waters of the Strait. The United States can set up a formidable force projection base without putting a single boot on Iranian soil, keeping firepower just hours away from any closure of the Strait. That's real deterrence. It's an invisible knife at the regime's throat. My friends, while global tension is focused on Karg Island, there's a frightening leaked report from the Pentagon that we can't ignore. It's part of the intelligence war, and the mainstream media is pretending not to see it. The June files from ARO, the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, have just been released. And the details seem like they came straight out of a science fiction writer's meeting. The director of ARO documented official images captured near a United States military facility. And what did they see? A huge orange mothership, a motor orb, which was caught releasing smaller red orbs in midair. Do you understand the weight of that? A mothership releasing spherical drones within the restricted airspace of the United States Armed Forces. And this is part of a file that documents more than 200 unexplained sightings occurring in the immediate vicinity of the United States Air Force Base, with an impressive 40 of these cases still marked as unresolved. This isn't some internet conspiracy theory. When veteran pilots with thousands of hours in fighter cockpits, scanning the skies for real threats, say there's something out there that defies conventional engineering, the game changes. If these spheres are next-generation surveillance drones operated by China, Russia, or some undisclosed technology from the axis of evil itself, we're facing a national security breach of cataclysmic proportions. Because while the F-35s and F-16 CJs map every inch of Iranian territory, the Expeditionary Unit tightens the net in the Persian Gulf. Our own rear area in the west is being penetrated by vehicles that our radars can barely comprehend. And modern war won't be won by whoever shoots first, but by whoever can see and process the invisible reality. My friends, the net is closing in the Gulf. What we're witnessing is not just a maritime patrol operation, but the doctrine of pure and simple strangulation being applied. Iran tries to sell the world the image of a fearsome naval power, but the backbone of its foreign trade is entirely under the sights of American Marines and radars. Diplomacy failed because the regime became hostage to its own Revolutionary Guard, demanding the unfreezing of $6 billion under the threat of naval terrorism. But you don't negotiate the release of hostages by handing over the key to your own vault. The United States put the Marines there, the amphibious force is loaded, the bases have been taken out, from Bandar Abbas to Karg Island. The elite verdict of our analysis today is clear: financial strangulation and amphibious siege. The Iranian regime perfectly understands the language of unquestionable superior force, but they made the mistake of believing that Western diplomacy was synonymous with military cowardice. The big question that remains is, how far is Washington willing to go to protect global trade before the Axis makes the fatal tactical mistake of firing at the American flag? Go down to the comments now and answer me. Do you believe in the final amphibious siege, or do you think Tehran will commit tactical suicide by attacking the Marines? Now I need to talk to you who have a relevant message, brutal knowledge, but who remain completely invisible here on social media. You record, pay, change your mind, see mediocrity being rewarded every day, and think your time has already passed. Look at the level of illusion you're falling into. The problem was never your lack of talent, it's not your story. The problem, pure and simple, is the lack of a lethal method. No one is telling you this, but the internet has no mercy for the confused and doesn't crown those who just have a diploma. It rewards those who master communication, who know how to anchor attention in the first few seconds, who build a relentless narrative. Those who open their mouths and exude presence, turning a common idea into a decree that the audience is incapable of ignoring. And that's why I decided to break the pattern and do something unprecedented. On July 12th, here in Curitiba, I will unlock the black box of my method. I will lead an in-person immersion inside my professional studio with my team to show you the exact anatomy of how I built an audience that exceeds 50 million views every month. Going head-to-head with the system and without relying on paid traffic? This is important. This is not a motivational talk made just to get a crowd clapping. It's not a generic pre-recorded course. There will be only 10 people, 10 seats. We will spend the whole day together doing hands-on work. You will learn scripting, maximum retention, positioning, reel recording, posture correction, and building unshakable authority on camera. You will leave there understanding how to structure your content, how to master your space, and how to stop looking like just another shadow begging for attention on the internet. Because there is a huge gap between posting videos and building authority. Anyone can post. Authority is forged with method, technique, and a reality check. So, if you know your voice needs to come out of anonymity, this immersion is your turning point. The QR code is on the screen now. The link is in the description and in the first pinned comment. And everything I just told you is monetized in dollars, which today is worth 5 times more. Imagine 100 turning into 500. Imagine 1,000 turning into 5,000. Yes, my friends, that makes a difference in your life. And if you want to get VIP access right this second, go down to the comments and type in all caps "I want." But look, there are only 10 spots. When the 10th is taken, the steel door closes and that's it. July 12th in Curitiba. Type "I want," click the link or point your phone. Your voice was not born to die in silence. And now, stop wasting time choosing a cool movie or series to watch on Netflix or Amazon. We created a channel with curated tips on series and movies so you can go straight to the right choice. It's about sitting on the couch with your family and enjoying the best entertainment experience you could have. So the link is in the description, in the pinned comment, and also in the card that will appear on your screen. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave a like on the video because it takes a lot of work to make this, my friends. Now blind your mind. I'm Shimon Oliveira, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.